David here from Figboot on Pens. Today we're going to talk about a very special pen, which is very unique in many regards. It's a pen that shows up a great deal when folks talk about their Grail pens, and it's a pen worthy of being in those discussions. And that pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens. What we're going to do today is I'm going to go over some of the parts and features of the pen, talk about some of the things I care for, some of the things I don't care for about it, show some measurements, some size comparisons, and then provide a writing sample. Visconti was founded in 1988, so it's not that old of a company, coming up on 30 years, which is rather young in the pen world. They're headquartered in Florence, Italy, and were founded by two gentlemen, Dante Del Vecchio and Luigi Politi. A distinct characteristic of most Visconti pens is unique design, and the Homo Sapiens is no different. This is the box that it comes in, and inside is a nice faux leather box that's very soft with the Visconti logo on it and a little side drawer. In the side drawer is the marketing materials that just goes into a number of Visconti's line. And inside the box we have the pen. And this is the Homo Sapiens in the sterling silver finish. Currently, the Homo Sapiens comes in two models. The Bronze Age, which has bronze trim on it, and the Steel Age, which has stainless steel trim. There's also a Dark Age pen, which hasn't quite come out yet, which has black trim and a black nib. I picked up this pen on sale from Chatterley Luxuries. I have purchased a couple pens from their site, and each time it was a pleasant buying experience. And when Visconti first launched this Homo Sapiens line several years ago, it was offered with this with this sterling silver finish in a set. And apparently that Chatterley Luxuries was able to acquire some new old stock of these models that were in the sterling silver finish, and they were able to offer those outside of those sets. And was able to pick this up on sale at a decent price that was less than what some of the current models are going for. But the only real difference between this model is this extra set of rings that is on the barrel. That other than that, I believe it's basically identical to the models that are currently available today. This pen is made of a material which is 50% basaltic lava and 50% resin. There's a couple different kinds of lava, but basaltic lava is the bright reddish orange lava that you see spewing out of the top of an active volcano, kind of the something we closely relate to what lava is. That's basaltic lava. And this lava comes from the Mount Etna volcano in Italy. Mount Etna is located in the east coast of Sicily, right near the tip of Italy's boot. Here's a picture of Mount Etna from Wikipedia, and here's a look at it in Google Earth. You can really see how the lava has flowed over the years down the mountain. The unique material for this pen is slightly hygroscopic, which means that it can absorb things like oil or the wetness from your hand or even ink. So when you are inking up this pen, you want to be careful to kind of wipe off the section immediately so that you can avoid any stains. Here's a close-up picture of the material. You could really see the pitting, which gives this pen a unique personality. I've noticed that the texture could vary from pen to pen, well, some having more pronounced pitting and more grayish accents than this specific pen. The pen is very soft to the touch and slightly warm. It's a very interesting tactile experience. We'll start here with the cap. On the cap is the Visconti logo. Here's a close-up picture of the cap. Like most Visconti pens, this particular one has the Visconti My Pen system, where you, with a little magnet, you could actually take off the Visconti logo and replace the cap with the little finial on the cap with something else, whether it's your initials or a astrological sign or a gemstone. You can replace it with a number of different things. I kind of like the Visconti logo on it, so that's why I've decided to keep that there. Then we have the clip. I like Visconti's clips a great deal. This clip is famously inspired by the Ponte Vecchio Bridge in Florence. Here's a picture of it off its Wikipedia page. In order to activate this clip, you really have to pinch it. Basically, you grab it and pinch and it opens. And I kind of like the fact that the two rings here almost serve as a guide. So you kind of put your finger here and just pinch and then it opens. And that one of the downsides of this pen is that the clip really can't operate unless you pinch it. So if you were putting it in a pocket, most other pens you can just put in your pocket and it slips right in. This is not going to slip in and activate. That you're going to have to pinch it in order to put it in. But it's something that really comes natural after a while and really isn't an issue, and it just becomes second nature. The cap tapers up slightly, and there is a double rounded band in the middle that are sterling silver, and then there is a slight step down to the barrel, which begins with a silver band that says Homo Sapiens. Then the barrel slightly tapers down, and there are matching double bands here that are not present on the current models, like I said. And then there is a small silver band, which is actually part of the high vacuum power filler filling system of this pen, which operates similar to the vacuum filling systems of pens like the Pilot 823 or the TWSBI 700 or Vac Mini pens. To remove the cap, this is one of my favorite things. You actually kind of push and twist. You don't just twist or you don't pull, you kind of push and twist. And the capping mechanisms is just very cool. They call it the hook safe locking system. And here is a close-up picture of the real chunky threads here. There are 5 of them, and they really secure the pen. Without pushing down on the spring-loaded mechanism, it can be tough to open the pen. But if you push and twist correctly, it works great, and I like it very much. It's very unique. We have a concave section here that is very comfortable, and the blocky threads are not sharp at all and don't get into the way. That this pen is very comfortable to use when not posted, but it does get a little bit back weighted when you have it posted, so I'd say probably 90% of the time I do use it without posting it, but it is very comfortable to use. Then we have this beautiful 23 karat palladium Dream Touch nib. The 950 indicates that this is 95% pure palladium in comparison to 18K, which contains 75% of a precious material, and 14K, which contains 58. And as we'll see in this writing sample, this medium nib writes beautifully. A little bit of backstory here. I ordered this pen with a fine nib. I had done a lot of research, and even though I normally prefer mediums, it really seemed like the flow was very heavy in this pen and that the fine might be best for me. And when I received the pen, while the fine nib worked just fine, it operated just fine, it was just a little bit toothy for my taste. It wasn't scratchy, just a little bit toothy, but I believe that's how it's designed. It wasn't anything faulty with the pen. And so after having it for just a couple of days, I made the tough decision to send it off through Coles of London for a free nib exchange, which I appreciated. So they sent the pen back to Visconti headquarters in Italy, and the process takes about 3 weeks to complete. When I received the pen back, I found that the new medium nib was extremely overpolished and really would not write correctly, and I was just crushed. This was my one of my dream pens, and I was now going to be without it for another week or another 3 weeks as I sent it back to them again to have it fixed again. So 3 weeks later, when I received the pen back, the medium nib writes excellent, and there was no issues with the nib whatsoever. But there was one thing that irks me a little bit, is the orientation of the wording. The Homo Sapiens has changed by 45 degrees. When I first received the pen, Homo Sapiens lined up directly with the nib, and now it is lined up 45 degrees the other direction. And I you can't just reorient the nib. I've tried to do that. And I've actually checked a number of photos online to see if other people's pens are like this as well. And it seems like really it's a mixed bunch. Some have the wording correctly oriented with the nib and others are off like this. And while I would really want this fixed, I really don't feel like being without this pen for another 3 weeks for something relatively minor like that. So I guess what I'm going to do right now is live with it, with being out of orientation right now, and it's going to serve as a reminder to me that sometime down the line I'd really like to travel to Italy, and while there I'd like to visit the Visconti factory and villa, and while I'm there I will have them fix the pen or at least reorient this correctly. So am I pleased that I purchased this pen? Absolutely. It has a lot going for it. The nib is very good. The look and feel of this pen is extraordinarily unique. And having a pen made out of lava is just pure cool. I have a large number of pens in my collection, and I work through and rotate through them so that everyone gets used on a regular basis and enjoyed. You can check out my everyday carry log video to see how I organize my collection and keep track of my rotation if that's a tool that you're looking for. But I have some pens that I use once every 2 to 3 months, and then I have others in a higher rotation that I just couldn't stand with being too long between uses. And this definitely is one of the pens that will be in my high rotation. I like it that much. So here are some measurements, then I'll do some size comparisons, and then provide a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Visconti Homo Sapiens. Here it is compared to a Montblanc 149 and a Pelican M1000. Get these lined up there. And then also compared to a Visconti Van Gogh. Then in regard to some other more common pens, we have a Lamy All-Star and a TWSBI Eco, and then a Pilot Metropolitan. So you can see how it's much larger than that. So here we go with the writing sample for the Visconti Homo Sapiens. And this is a medium nib. And the ink is Toucan Crimson. This Toucan is an interesting ink that I recently discovered off of Anderson pens. It comes in these very unique pouches. So it comes in these, they call them food safe pouches, and I figured that since the pouch looks like a blood bag, I needed to get a red ink to go in there. I also got a blue ink, but I just thought that looked extraordinarily cool. And like I said, a bit like a blood bag. So what you do is you actually transfer that to an individual bottle. So I bought these glass bottles, a number of glass bottles off of Anderson's. You can find them on their site as well. And then you transfer it into these bottles, and then you can ink up your pen from those. The Toucan Crimson actually is I wouldn't call it a dark red, but it's not necessarily a pink red, and I'm really not a fan of the pink reds. It's kind of somewhere in between. It's very similar to something like the Monteverde red, or even the Iroshizuku Momiji. It's kind of in that same family. But so far, I like it. It actually shows up a little bit darker on the page, especially with the Homo Sapiens, than it does on the card. So here we go with the rest of the writing sample. Lazy dog. This pen does have a bit of bounce to it, and you can get quite a bit of line variation out of here without having to push it too hard. Starting off with almost no pressure whatsoever, and then kind of going to pushing it more and more, you can see that you can get a great deal out of here without really having to push it that much. And the ink flow is very good here. I would describe this as a wet pen. And in regard to reverse writing, it can be done. It's a little scratchy, but does lay down a nice extra fine line. And so in regard to writing some fast writing, some initials, I'm not finding that this nib has many problems at all. In comparison, this was, like I had mentioned, this was my medium nib. I had done some writing with my fine nib before I'd sent it off, and you can kind of see some of the comparison there. There's not a ton of difference in the way it writes as far as the line variation and things like that, but like I had mentioned before, I just felt that the fine was a little toothier for my taste, but the medium is very smooth, performs very well, and I enjoy it a great deal. The Visconti Homo Sapiens, in my opinion, is a pen worthy of its status. It is, outside of the QA issues that I had, I really enjoyed this pen. It is one of those pens that is an interesting conversation piece. It's very fun to use, and it performs very well. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later.